some inspiration. Yeah? All right, cool. That's it? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So today I'm going to show you how you can become an EDM producer, electronic dance music producer. Who like electronic music? Raise your hand. Who listen to lo-fi beats, I don't know, deep vocal house, dark German techno, whatever your flavor, not judging. So this is me. My name is Uncle State. I'm the organizer of React NYC. This is kind of what's going on there. So if you're around the city, you're more than welcome to join me. I'm also considered to be a fashion icon, a mentor, music producer, and vegan. This is my Twitter handle. Join my followers. I won't follow you back, though. You should be privileged by following the uncle. The uncle won't follow you back if the uncle following you back. That means something, guys. That means something. That's a real Twitter account. Like I said, I'm organizing the React NYC meetup group. It's actually one of the largest groups in this niche in the East Coast. We've got more than 7,000 people, 2 meetups per month. Really fun. Check out themeetup.com. Check out our Twitter if you like. I'm also involved in this thing called React Week, which is an international conference. It's going to happen for the second time in Manhattan for the whole week. And your uncle can give you 25%. But if you stick until the end, I'm going to tell you how you can get it, if you like. Let's talk about our life as programmers, all right? Our excited life as programmers. We all seen our life as programmers through this day. So basically, what we're doing every day, we wake up, we initialize a variable, we manipulate an array, we write some conditional logic, and we die, basically. I think all of us can relate to this if you're doing something. Yeah, I mean, we can wrap it, I don't know, with math, machine learning, but basically, that's what's going on. So I'm here to give it a little bit of spice. I'm here to show you, let's take what we're doing and let's see how it related of creating music, because I think that each one of us can leverage those skills, and it might be a great fresh start to actually create music. Specific kind of music, which is pretty much, I think, very much related to coding. So let's talk about some core coding skills and how it's related to what we're doing. So what is electronic music?
128 BPM.
Even simpler, music that employs electronic musical instruments. That's the definition straight from the source of all truth, Wikipedia. So, if electronic music is being produced by using electronic instrument, the computer is an electronic instrument. I mean, kind of, I don't know. Let's see. Let's start by setting the stage. So, you want to try some live coding? What do you say? Yeah. But for this, the uncle might have to take his nice sunglasses off. I don't think you're ready for it. For his beautiful eyes. Otherwise, that's not going to work. You see? I was with my sunglasses, so I opened VS Code, because usually I'm on WebStorms. But I couldn't see. So we're going to stick with this. We're going to create an index.html file. How do you usually create an index.html file here, down, DC, or wherever we are? Yeah, this is how the uncle did it. Works on every editor and impress everyone. Give it a try. So we're going to create a plain, old-fashioned index.html. We're going to create a script. Let's actually create this file. The uncle doesn't know any shortcuts with Visual Studio Code, so you can help me with this or not. Now, let's go back here. Let's drop some stuff. Let's do an H1. make music, and let's create a button says play, and let's do on click and just play. And then let's come here, implement play, and let's do a little bit of, you know, respect the past, like a flashback, like the uncle used to do in the 90s. That was the thing. Yeah. So if you click it, voila. Vanilla JavaScript, do you remember how it looks like? No components. It's not a functional component, that's a function. All right, let's add some dependency. So we've got the stage ready, because if we're going to be like developers, like producer, whatever, this is our stage. Index.html, index.js, that's where that's going to happen. The sampler might be the most important instrument of the electronic music producer. The sampler, like the name implies, lets you sample something. So the sampler, usually we set a variable, all right? We set a variable because we're going to use this variable later. Simple, boring, we do it every time. This use case is just a string assigned to a value, and then in the function you call this value. So what is a sampler if we try like to do something which is more related to music? Basically, I'm going to create a variable. Actually, it's not even going to be a variable. It's going to be a map. All right? Now, I'm using this library. You see this? Tone. Let me add it as a dependency. I'm going to use two libraries. I'm going to grab them from CDN. One of them, the first one, going to be Ace. Who heard about Ace? Inline code editor. If not, you're going to see amazing one line of code and you got a live code editor in your browser. Again, vanilla JavaScript, no fancy stuff. And the other one going to be a very neat library called Tone.js that let you mess with sounds, create music, and a lot of music instruments. You should check it out and you're going to get some nice introduction to it. And I created a sampler. A sampler, like I said, enabled me to do something like this, basically. Create a variable, a key on my map, but instead of just assigning to a string, to a boring string, how do I close this? Yeah. I'm going to assign it to an MP3 file. All right? Cool. Now, if we are going to make some music, we're going to need some volume. So I'm going to create a volume control with tone. I'm going to give it a value. I'm going to chain it to something called the master. It's going to be our master volume. Everything going to be connected to one big imaginary knob. And then I can take this sampler, which I just created, and connect it to my volume. So if I just assign an MP3 file, which can be everything, I'm using a kick because it's going to be a drum machine, all right? But you can sample whatever you want. I've got a good friend of Uncle State. Actually, a very sad story, but we're going to tell it later. That sample the subway in the city and make like tiny pieces of MP3 out of it and use these lines of code and made something creative. Let's try to do it. Let's go to the sampler. Let's do a get because it's a map. Let's get the kick and let's start. And it sits inside this play. So hopefully I've got sound. We're gonna know in a second. All right? So as a starter, I sampled something that I can use later on. Which means that if I take this thing and just add more sounds, like snare and hi-hat and this kind of stuff, and I can create more, let's create two more buttons. That's going to be play, that's going to be a kick, that's going to be snare, that's going to be hi-hat. If you're not familiar with those terms, it's just the part of a drum machine, but you can call it whatever you want because you can sample whatever you want. So here I'm going to grab this MP3 and this MP3. I'm going to go back to my HTML file. I'm going to create 2 more buttons. That's going to be the kick. That's going to be the snare. That's going to be the hi-hat and kick, snare, and hi-hat. So hopefully well, we're getting somewhere, all right? Trust me on this one. But the concept is more important. Now, well, cool. We can create it. We can get over this latency. We can assign some keyboard events to this one, and we can play bits, which is cool. But not all of us have got the skills, which is totally okay, because not all of us, was born musicians. Got the skills to actually, or the will to actually do it manually. I mean, you can do it manually if you want to perform live, like I just did with this. But, or the... But let's take it a step further. Are we okay with the concept of the sampler? Yeah? All right, cool. So now you know what is a sampler. Let's move forward. So let's go back to the slide. All right. So this is a snippet, so you can use later on. You can use the code. I'm going to share the code. I'm going to share the slides. And I'm going to share some pictures of me, but that's going to be a different repo. Let's talk about the beat, because it's all about the beat. All right? What is the beat? Well, let's go back to our, gray, sad life as programmers. So we know how to set an interval, all right? Well, kind of. We know how to create an array. Yeah, deep learning, I learned something. And we know how to create loops. But the thing about this piece of code, that we can control the speed that thing gonna run. All right, obviously. I can run this snippet on the browser. What I'm going to see? I'm going to see a bunch of console log. Now, it's probably going to be fast. I mean, hopefully. But it's JavaScript, so you can never know. And it's going to slow down, but you get the idea. So I want you to think about while loop going like looping over an array, but with a concept of controlling the time. So I want to get console log, console log, console log, whatever it is, but I want to create some kind of timing for this one. Make sense? Cool. So in music, we call this a sequence. And actually, there is a tool, which is a virtual tool. Well, we're going to discover some other things about it later on, which called a sequencer that help us create a sequence. Because, are you laughing because of my... I lived for 20 years in Berlin. That's the reason I got this. Every time I said a sequence, I've got this notion for some reason. I don't know if it's related to Berlin or other issues. Anyway, the sequencer, because musicians who doesn't know how to write code, they can't use the term while loop or whatever. So let's create a sequence. Let's see how it looks like in code. So I'm going to go back to our JavaScript file again. I'm going to use this libraries, the tone library we done with the sampler. Let's clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to erase all of this. Let's call this just like before. Let's call this play. Something happened. I don't know what happened. All right. So instead of kick, that's going to be play. That's going to be play. And let's use this concept of sequence instead of a while loop. So I'm going to create a sequencer. Basically, look at this code, all right? Creating a new instance of something called a sequencer and give him as an argument a callback. As a second argument, I can provide him an array. This is how we do it.
That's 10.
So we've got an array. Now I'm going to add a third argument, which I'm going to explain later. But I want you to take this snippet and think about it as a while loop, because basically that's what it is. Whatever this sequence that I just created, whatever I'm going to put in the body of this console log, of this callback function, like, hey, you, hey. Or something more meaningful. Anyway, I want this to be called, but I want to control the timing. So when you want to measure distance over time, I mean, when you're driving your car, we use, I don't know, miles per hour or whatever. We're going to use kilometer per hour. You get the idea. In music, we call this a BPM, beats per minute. Basically, just a measurement to measure something that's going to happen over time. I'm going to create this BPM. So I'm going to create a transport. It's a tool that helped me define a BPM. I'm going to give it some value, 130 beats per minute. The whole point, I want to be able to run this callback 16 times, because that's the length of the array, and I want to control the pace. So right here, I'm going to try to do something like this. I'm going to take this tone transport, and I'm going to start it. So now I've got like a beating heart. I've got something that creates this beat. And I'm going to take this sequence, and I'm going to call start on it. So I hope that, let's see what's going on here. Yeah. So let's give it a try. Let's see what's going on. Let me open the console. Try to hit play. All right. So I don't know if you can see it. You can see it, no? Yeah. So I've got some kind of beat in something. But wait a second. I don't want a console log. I wanna do something more useful, like sampler get kick dot start. Let's see what's going to happen now. All right, so I've got the beat. So let's slow it down a little bit, just you know, to make sure that it's actually okay. Are we cool with this? With the concept, people. Again, this is electronic music production 101 for developers. Think about it. I can control my while loop. That's cool. Someone took it very far. I can control the timing. Hooray! All right, let's do this. Let's write some conditional logic, because we agreed that our life made of three simple things: assigning a variable, looping over an array, and write conditional conditional code, sorry. Yeah, so let's do if, and if this index in my callback function, let's say that it is an even number, then go ahead and do this. And maybe write some code that looks like this. If, and here, let's create an array. And I've got an array of, like, let's say that I want, when I reach the fourth element, I want to do something like this. When I reach the 4, 8, when I reach 12, when I reach, you know what, if I'm reaching each one of those, if that's going to be the index, so go ahead and do the same thing, but with another sound, like this hi-hat. Let's see what's going to happen. It doesn't need to mean anything yet. That's the concept. So we can write some conditional logic because we are looping over an array, and we can trigger some sounds, all right? So for example, actually for this one, I was just going to go and do 2 for, you know what? Go away, yeah. And let's heat it up.
You're missing the 10.
Where am I missing the 10?
9 and 11.
All right. Now let's get the party going. All right. All right. Now we get it. All right, let's stop right here. So wait a second, what's going on here? So basically I'm going to play with an array and some callback and some invoking some sounds. All right, cool. That's cool. But what if we're going to do something a little bit more interesting? Remember this library, this ACE library that I put here? Maybe I'm going to create an inline editor, something that looks like this. Let's call it an editor. All right? Yeah, that's the way we create a div with ID. That's called Emmet HTML. If you're not familiar with this is set of conventions. It's going to work on any major ID. I mean, I'm saying if it works in VS Code, it works everywhere. Sorry. Last time I've been here, Brian Holt was sitting right here, and I was like, yeah. All right, so let's see what's going to happen. I'm gonna add just a splash of CSS so we can actually see something. So basically, I'm just setting some height and width, all right? And then on the JavaScript code, I'm just going to use this ACE library. I'm creating an editor. I'm setting a theme. All right, just using the library ACEs. Let's go back here and see what we've got. So I've got a live editor, basically. So if I've got a live editor here, let's do something evil. I'm gonna take this piece of code, all right? And here I'm just gonna evaluate editor get value. So it's gonna evaluate. Yeah. And then I'm gonna go back here, refresh, paste this code here. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And let's see what's gonna happen. So basically, that was the scene back then when I was younger. That was our music way before you created this whole, we don't talk anymore. Anyway. You get the idea, so wait a second, I can do, yeah, the uncle knows how to sing, how to carry it here. So, have you seen what's happened right now? I mean, I can play with code, forget about the crappy implementation, yeah, like evaluate, performance, let's put it aside for a second. I'm playing with code, and in a way, I'm kind of visualize messing with arrays and just triggering sounds, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, I can go, you know, we can move forward with this, and you get a concept, because everything happens in real time. I can mess with it. I can mess with this. I can create different kind of bits. I can get somewhere with this. All right? Cool? All right, nice. Let's go back to learn something less instrument of electronic music. So basically we're creating a syntax, which is a sequence, sorry, which is basically a while loop, but we can control the time. That's the point, all right? And we're using the BPM because that's the measurement that we use in music. And the code can look something like this if you just want to get started. And then whatever you put on the callback function gonna be triggered. And there you can start an experience and see what you're coming with, because you've got some constants, all right? It's not like I need to born right now. I need to born with some kind of talent to be able, because it's very systematic. Make sense? Cool. We already made some decisions, all right? Snippets. We've seen how your code can become some kind of an instrument. For example, I can write some code like this and actually produce something, because it just, you know what? I don't remember. I think it was the machine learning talk that there was this phrase like erase, everyone. Erase. Yeah, it was erase. No? Erase. Let's think about erase. A lot of sophisticated stuff that we are doing basically end up by manipulating arrays. But the uncle gonna take it like a deep learning. We're gonna talk about arrays inside arrays. All right. Let's see how it works. So we've got some other coding skills, like when you use the promise API and you can chain and you can call functions right after other functions. Exactly what we did with this volume thing. We're gonna overview this in a second, and I can take it further. I can come here and say, all right, you've seen here I'm connecting something to volume. Basically, I'm just chaining function. So I can create some spatial effect and manipulate some sound. For example, I can create effects that gonna sound like something that lives in in a real space, and then I can connect the sampler instead of the volume. I'm gonna change it to my effect, and the effect is connected to the volume. So same principle as chaining functions. You just learn about input-output, which is something very important when you deal with sound. I'm just missing something. I mean, you can take MP3 files, you can sample them, you can play them, you can create great music just by sampling things, real life, beats, sounds, whatever. Create a BPM, put it on a sequence, play with it, and you can get something creative out of it, all right? But sometimes you don't have the privilege of like sampling sound and you want to create something from scratch. So we're getting closer to the end of this talk because I want to introduce you the synthesizer. When we talk about electronic music, basically, if you've got a synthesizer, which is a tool that can synthesize sounds, create something from nothing, and you've got a sampler that enables you to use existing sound, and you've got a BPM, and you can put everything on a sequence, you can create whatever you want. You can create amazing music. Now, synthesizer, that's a whole new world, because then you get into how do I produce sound from scratch, how I manipulate sound waves. But let's put it aside for a second and just use something, out of the box, all right? So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to create a synthesizer from Tone.js. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to use this snippet to create a synthesizer. So I created a synthesizer, a polysynth. It can play 3 sounds at once. I connected it to the volume because everything is connected to the volume. And now I can go ahead and create an array of arrays. Now those reserved words represent pitch, represent notes. Even if you don't know about music theory and it doesn't make any sense to you, you can experience with this, but the concept, array of array, remember this, because that's going to be the punch. I just spoiled the punch, no? Yeah, but that's going to be the punch. All right, so I can create some chords, and then I can go back to my editor. Let's put something here like hard-coded that looks like this, all right? I'm going to show you in the editor because... So, again, looping over the array. I think I lost one. Yep. Yeah. He wants to kill me. I'm creating an array and I'm just triggering some sounds. The only difference from this code snippet to the other is now that I created some sounds, synthetic sounds, all right? So it's going to sound something like this. Or not. Yeah. Well, we missed something. Let's find it out. Let's see if it's going to be easy enough to find what went wrong. So I've got a synthesizer. It's connected to the volume. We've got some chords here to play. And. Excuse me? Yeah, they're not being used.
Did you want to connect to the volume or the effects?
Now you're getting into it. So I've got the chords, but I'm not using them. Let's start by moving everything, to here. But that's not a problem. The problem here, I think it's just going to be a hard refresh, if you ask me. Or not? Yeah, I mean, here it is. Here it is. We just have like a very specific error. Just need reference error. Cannot access volume before initialization. It was just a matter of. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna take the volume. Where's the volume? Where is this volume? And I'm just gonna. Here it is. I'm just gonna move it here. Yeah, the uncle lied. He learned some. Don't trust the uncle. Never trust the uncle. All right. This is how we used to rock back then. But you have to have a ponytail for this. You get the idea, all right? Let's stop this thing, all right? So let's just do a real quick summarize of what we see. So, all right, we can sample, we can generate, we can create a beat, we can control the loop. That's the basics. So basically, we've seen this, a collections of sounds, collection of collections. Take a second and look at me. Now look at the code. No back on me. No back to the code. You can't put your eyes on the code because your eyes are on me. Fashion icon. Yeah, anyway, look at this. So let's say that every one of those arrays inside of array represent a sound, and you just trigger sounds, all right? All of us are front-end developer, hopefully. Is there any back-end developer who just came here for free food? The uncle loves everyone. Talk with me later. I'm going to convert you. All right, so if we've got array of array and all of us are front-end developers, let's try to build. I mean, how do you build a user interface for this kind of thing? We're not going to live code it. We're going to use something that I prepared. Array of array is basically a grid. Is that like everyone okay with this assumption? Cool. So let me open up a project that I prepared. I'm going to take the exact same thing that we did. Let's go to the Uncle training folder. Go to the step sequencer. I'm going to load it to another Visual Code instance. I'm going to use a great NPM library, but I'm going to use npx HTTP server. And I'm going to run whatever I've got on this folder. Just going to serve the index.html. And then I'm going to open it up. So that's a grid, all right? We are developers, array of arrays. So let's trigger a sequence, and let's just, put some boolean. So wait a second. So now this kind of creation is more friendly, but we as developers are not intimidated for this kind of thing because we see array of arrays and we're just changing values on an array. Make sense? So if I've got this kind of UI and I'm loading some sound, even if I'm not that creative, actually what you're listening right now, that's an electronic music genre. If you look for techno, for example, techno is a monotonic beat that goes something like this with some variations. And I think that's cool because you can create something and you kind of understand the concept. Do you agree with your uncle? I don't know. Are you inspired to give it a try? So let's take it a step forward. So I'm saying, head to Guitar Center or your favorite. All right, so our UI look like this, and guess what? This is a real instrument. So for $200, you can get your hands on this kind of controller, which is basically a grid of arrays within a grid, which you can set booleans to trigger sounds, and you can discover your inner creativity. And actually, if you never created music, if it looks like something, very unfamiliar for you, I'm going to put my sunglasses on because we're going to do a summary. Yep. The uncle wrote this book, which is one to share with you for free. So if you want to get this book about how Uncle State manage his state, go ahead and grab it. If you want to grab my other books, look for this on the Rally Shop. That's going to inspire you. Some safety rules, how to code with your uncle. When I'm not Uncle State, I'm this boring human being. But he shared my slides on this URL, so you can check it out. Let's talk about the after party. So I talked about some free licenses. The uncle sees you. And we talked about some discounts, and we talked about having fun. So I'm going to be in this after party when I'm going to play the NPM game. Are you familiar with this? The rules are simple. Uncle, try your luck. Oh no, it exists. Drink up. Anyway, guys, I hope you got inspired. I've got you got some motivation to go ahead and try to make some music. I hope you got some idea of that making electronic music is not that different from coding, and you actually can find your own creativity and contribute something funky to the world. I was Uncle State. I thank you very much for surviving this day.